When my daughter was in surgery after a car accident, Mom, Barb, insisted on ordering takeout hot pot outside the operating room. I didn't want to be mocked, so I begged Mom, Barb, not to order it. Mom, Barb, slapped me hard across the face. And then Darling and Dad, Mars, dragged me to a place without surveillance cameras and beat me up. In the end, I agreed to let Mom, Barb, order takeout. But while eating the hot pot, Mom, Barb, suddenly had a mental breakdown, twisted her face, and forced me into the scalding hot pot broth, burning me to death. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn to the moment when Mom, Barb, was crying and demanding to order takeout. I smiled coldly. This time, not only would I not stop Mom, Barb, from ordering takeout, but I would also add extra chili, extra spice, and Carolina Reaper. Sophie got into a car accident because of you. You terrible mother. If you had stayed home to take care of the kids instead of going to that stupid class, would my Sophie have gotten into a car accident? Thinking about Sophie suffering inside breaks my heart. What's wrong with wanting to eat some hot pot to ease my pain? It was Mom, Barb, who went out to play mahjong while my daughter was asleep. When she woke up and saw no one home, she ran out barefoot, trying to cross the street to find her grandmother at the card room, only to be hit by a speeding car. Mom, Barb, caused my daughter's car accident. Yet she doesn't feel the slightest bit guilty. Instead, she shifts the blame onto me for being at work. I watched Mom, Barb, tearfully accuse me, looking like she was on the brink of a mental breakdown. But all I could do was clench my thighs in anger. I was afraid that if I didn't hurt myself, I wouldn't be able to control myself and would rush over to kill Mom, Barb. That manipulative old bat with her 62-year-old face. Seeing the dark, displeased glances from Darling and Dad, Mars, I quickly backed down. In a past life, because I strongly opposed Mom, Barb, ordering takeout, Darling and Dad, Mars, dragged me into a storage room with no surveillance cameras and beat me severely. In the end, I reluctantly agreed to let Mom, Barb, order takeout. Since I couldn't change the outcome, I wasn't going to be foolish enough to confront the two men head-on in this life. Mom, I'm sorry. Sophie was in a car accident, and I'm so heartbroken that I couldn't think straight and opposed you. As long as you feel better, you can order whatever you want, or I can go out and buy it for you. I'm worried the delivery will take too long and the food won't taste good. I suppressed the overwhelming hatred in my heart and, like in my previous life, bowed my head and pleaded with Mom, Barb. Mom, Barb, was surprised to see that I, who had been strongly opposed earlier, suddenly stopped resisting her. She gave me a brief, unexpected glance. However, since I had fawned over her so much in the past, she assumed I was just backing down as usual and didn't give me a second thought. There's no need for you to go out. The hot pot place I like is pretty far from here. Just have the delivery person bring it over. All right. Mom. You two order. And I'll go to the restroom. I didn't go to the restroom but quickly found the head nurse. In my previous life, after I died, my soul followed my heartless in-laws and learned that before my daughter entered the operating room, Dad, Mars, secretly gave her the thrombolytic medication Mom, Barb, had been carrying, causing my daughter, who had no life-threatening condition, to suffer severe bleeding during surgery and die. After my daughter and I died, Dad, Mars, and Darling demanded $3 million in compensation from the hospital and then went to the insurance company to claim the $20 million in accidental death insurance for my daughter and me. Watching Darling and Dad, Mars, sit together with their respective lovers, their faces twisted with ugliness, dividing the death compensation money for my daughter and me. Only then did I realize that everything from my daughter's car accident to my death had been part of their family's scheme. It turned out that Darling had already purchased expensive accidental death insurance for my daughter and me, waiting for the right opportunity to have us die in an accident. When my daughter was in the car accident, they came up with the idea of having Mom, Barb, who suffers from mental illness, claim that she was so devastated by the accident that her mental illness had relapsed. And then they forced me into a boiling hot pot, burning me to death. creating an accidental death caused by a mental illness relapse. This allowed them to easily claim the accidental death insurance payout for my daughter and me. In this lifetime, before letting that heartless family face justice, I must first save my daughter. If I were to be reborn and still unable to save my daughter's life, what would be the meaning of rebirth? Nurse manager. My mom, Barb, has mental illness and a heart condition. When my daughter was in the car accident, her mental illness and heart condition both flared up at the same time. While taking the clot-dissolving medication, she thought my daughter would get better after taking the medicine. So she gave my daughter the same medication. Please go to the operating room and inform the doctor about this situation. To convince the nurse in charge, I also showed her a photo of Mom, Barb's mental disability certificate. The fact that Mom, Barb, has mental illness was something I only found out 2 months after marrying Joe Chris. That day, they asked me to clean the house while they went shopping to buy clothes for Mom, Barb. While I was cleaning the wardrobe, I saw her mental disability certificate in the drawer. I had always pretended not to know. And Mom, Barb, thought she had hidden it well. In my previous life, I had felt so sorry for Mom, Barb, because of her mental illness that I treated her like my own mother. But in the end, she became a dagger aimed at me and my child. The head nurse turned pale upon seeing the photo. The child was in a car accident and is currently losing a lot of blood. Taking thrombolytic drugs is extremely dangerous. How much did she give the child? In my previous life, my daughter was killed by the clot-busting medication. So I knew how dangerous it was. I hurriedly said, Mom, Barb doesn't remember. Please tell the doctor about this situation. And don't ask me or Mom, Barb's family. Mom, Barb, is mentally unstable and insists on eating hot pot in front of the operating room. I'm afraid if you ask her how much medication she gave my daughter, she'll break down and try to kill herself. Mom, Barb, is afraid the family will blame her. So she only told me in secret. The head nurse was also shocked when I mentioned Mom, Barb, demanding hot pot. However, as an experienced medical professional, she knew the hospital had seen its share of eccentric family members. She immediately reassured me. Don't worry. I won't ask you about your mom, Barb. I'll go talk to the attending physician about this situation. After the nurse went into the operating room, I found the hot pot restaurant where Mom, Barb, had ordered from on the food delivery app. Called them and asked them to add extra chili, extra spice, and Carolina Reaper, hee. If you don't know what that is, look it up yourself. After doing all that, I splashed cold water on my face and returned to the operating room door. A few minutes later, the head nurse came out. The patient's vital signs are stable. Family members shouldn't worry too much. As she left, she gave me an okay sign with her fingers, signaling me to relax. I exhaled deeply in relief, glaring at my in-laws. My daughter was safe, and I could finally relax and start my next act. I opened a live streaming app on my phone, placed it in my black bag, and aimed the camera at my darling and Dad, Mars, and Mom, Barb. Then, with a terrified expression, I walked up to Mom, Barb. Mom, don't worry too much. The doctor said Sophie's vital signs are stable, and the surgery will definitely be successful. Relax and don't get too tense. Let me give you a massage. Mom, Barb, didn't expect me to have the heart to give her a massage at this moment. She was startled for a moment, then complained about her aching back and hips, asking me how to make her feel more comfortable. I did everything as I had before. After massaging Mom, Barb, until she felt more relaxed, I sighed. It's all my fault for not listening. If I had stayed home with Sophie instead of going to work, Sophie wouldn't have been in the accident. I only make $10,000 a month, which isn't even as much as Mom wins in a day playing mahjong. Exactly. Sophie's accident is all your fault as a mother. That lousy job paying only $10,000 a month, I told you to quit. But you wouldn't listen. If you'd stayed home with the kids and I went out to play mahjong, maybe our family would have already struck it rich. Seeing Mom, Barb, fall for it and boast about her mahjong skills, I continued to smile and coax her gently. Mom is right. Once Sophie comes out of surgery, I'll quit my job. Mom, I heard that when something happens to a family member, others in the family feel it too. Today while I was pouring water at work, I got scalded by hot water. Did your luck at mahjong get worse today? No. My luck was amazing today. I won 4 or 5,000. If you hadn't suddenly called me to say Sophie had a car accident, I would have definitely won 10,000. What kind of heartless person would take pride in causing her own granddaughter's car accident because of mahjong? I was filled with hatred, unconsciously tightening my grip. Mom, Barb, screamed in pain, pushed me to the ground, and slapped me hard across the face. You bitch. Did you try to kill me? I quickly got up from the ground, massaged Mom, Barb's legs, and said with a panicked expression, Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was so worried about Sophie in the operating room that I forgot how hard I was hitting you. Please don't be angry. You're so clumsy and stupid. Mom, Barb said with a look of disgust. I never agreed to let Chris marry you. If he had married the woman I arranged for him, our family would be living in luxury by now. Mom, Chris and I have been married for 7 years. Can't you at least consider how much I respect you more than my own mother? Please stop bringing up other women. I'm a human being too. I have feelings. I get hurt and sad too. I mimicked Mom, Barb's mannerisms, sobbing and accusing her with all the sorrow I could muster. Slap, Mom, Barb slapped me hard across the face again. Our family has become so unlucky because of you. This unlucky person. And the worthless girl you gave birth to. All you do is cry all day long, crying away our family's fortune. I'm warning you, once the surgery is over, tell that jinx of a daughter of yours not to cry or make a scene, no matter how much it hurts. Mom, Barb, glared at me with a face twisted in anger, more terrifying than any evil mother portrayed in TV dramas. Mom, I've been married to Chris for all these years. I get up at 5 every morning to make breakfast for the whole family. Then go to the market after work to buy groceries and cook dinner. After eating, I start mopping the floor and doing laundry. I've done this day in and day out for years, giving my all for this family. I may not have any merits, but I've certainly put in the effort. I don't ask you to love Sophie more. But please, for the sake of Sophie being your own granddaughter, don't call her a jinx. Okay? My voice choked up, and I felt so wronged. But I didn't stop massaging Mom, Barb's hands, looking like a obedient, pitiful little wife. A jinx is a jinx. You and your daughter are both unlucky jinxes reincarnated. Don't touch me with your dirty hands. You're bringing bad luck. Mom, Barb said with a look of disgust, kicking me to the ground. Seeing that the emotional setup was in place, I glared at Mom, Barb, with bloodshot eyes. Mom, you can call me a jinx, but you can't say that about Sophie. Sophie is my precious daughter. I won't allow anyone to speak ill of her. Apologize to my Sophie right now. At that moment, a delivery guy carrying a huge box walked over. Who's Barbara? Your delivery is here. It's my delivery. Here. Mom, Barb waved to the delivery guy. The delivery guy looked at Mom, Barb, in shock, placed the box on the chair, and muttered under his breath as he left. Ordering takeout from the operating room is bad enough. But eating hot pot? This family must be mentally ill. I felt bitter inside. Even the delivery guy thought eating hot pot in the operating room was something only mentally ill people would do. In my previous life, Dad, Mars, and Darling had beaten me up to stop Mom, Barb, from ordering hot pot delivery. Yet I hadn't even considered the possibility of something worse. I was so stupid. I deserved to be scalded to death by the hot soup. After the delivery guy left, Darling started unwrapping the takeout. Just like in my past life, they brought out the folding table and chairs we used for picnics from the car. Soon, they set up the self-heating hot pot and the boxes of pre-packaged ingredients. And the red oil-covered hot pot broth began to steam. Looking at the fiery red hot pot broth, I remembered being forced into that spicy, scalding broth in my previous life. The excruciating pain felt as though I was reliving it, causing my entire body to tremble uncontrollably and cold sweat to pour down my face. Honey, our daughter just came out of surgery. You need to take care of her. Don't argue with Mom over her. Save your strength so you can take care of her when she comes out. While Mom, Barb, and I were arguing, Darling, who had been crouching in the bathroom like he had diarrhea, came over, helped me up, and comforted me gently. In my previous life, I didn't know what they were up to. Facing Darling's tenderness, I thought he truly cared about me, and I was filled with emotion as I walked over to the hot pot table and sat down. At the dinner table, Mom, Barb, deliberately picked on me, making me serve her. If I did something slightly wrong, she would scold me for doing it wrong, then use the opportunity to push me into the scalding hot pot soup, nearly boiling me alive. In this life, I will make them taste the hot pot laced with Carolina Reaper. Let them experience just how sour and refreshing that taste truly is. Thinking about the beautiful scene that was about to unfold, I wasn't afraid anymore. My blood was boiling. Standing in front of the picnic table, I pleaded, Mom, thinking about my daughter still in surgery, I just can't eat. Let's not eat. Aurora, the food is already ordered. Don't ruin the mood. Sophie's surgery is sad enough. This is turning our grief into appetite. Are you going to starve yourself to death just to make us happy? Who will take care of Sophie if you die? Mom, Barb, looked at me disapprovingly. Aurora, your mom is right. The food is already ordered. Don't overthink it. Sit down and eat. Dad, Mars, who had been silent all along, finally spoke up. I knelt down in front of Mom, Barb, and cried. Mom, Sophie is in the operating room fighting for her life, and I just can't bring myself to eat hot pot while she's in there. Please take everything away and don't eat hot pot. If you're hungry, you can go out and eat somewhere else. Please don't eat near the operating room. Faced with my repeated attempts to stop her from eating hot pot, Mom, Barb, also got angry and slapped me hard across the face. Aurora, I can still move now. I just wanted to eat some hot pot, but you kept pushing me away. What will you do to me when I'm old and bedridden? I don't want a disobedient daughter-in-law like you. I'll make Chris divorce you. I immediately looked panicked and said, Mom, I won't stop you from eating hot pot anymore. Please don't make Chris divorce me. I can't live without Chris. Saying this, I sat down obediently beside Mom, Barb. That's more like it. Just eat what I give you and stop talking so much. Mom, Barb, directed me to add things to the pot as if she were from a past life. When it came to her favorite shrimp balls, I deliberately shook my hand and dropped an entire box into the pot. Mom, Barb, screamed at me, calling me an idiot, and hit my head with her chopsticks. I grabbed the chopsticks from Mom, Barb's hands, my eyes red with anger, and shouted, Mom, you're being too much. My daughter is having surgery, and you're eating hot pot outside the operating room. I just accidentally put all your favorite shrimp balls in the pot. You're beating me like a slave. Do you even consider me your daughter-in-law? Facing my resistance, Mom, Barb, glanced at the scalding hot pot soup, her eyes flickering with excitement. You can't even put a dish in properly. You're as stupid as a pig. Marrying such a useless woman as my daughter-in-law. I might as well have let my son marry a dog. Mom, Barb, spoke with a distorted face, reaching out to slap me across the face. A bloodthirsty smile flashed in my eyes as I grabbed Mom, Barb's hair and, with lightning speed, pushed her into the scalding hot pot broth. Amid Mom, Barb's earth-shattering screams, I tossed her to the ground like trash, picked up the hot pot, and poured it over Dad, Mars, and Darling's heads. Because I acted too quickly, they were still in shock and couldn't react in time. Getting doused with scalding hot pot soup. Help me. Help me. I'm burning. I'm burning. My face. My eyes can't see. I'm going to die. For a moment, The area outside the operating room was filled with the heart-wrenching screams of my in-laws and Darling. "Aurora! You've gone mad." Darling covered one eye with his hand. The other eye exposed, glaring at me with anger and murder in his eyes. "I've gone mad. Driven mad by you heartless monsters. My daughter is inside having surgery. And you have the nerve to eat hot pot outside the operating room? You like to eat? So I'll let you eat your fill." I grabbed the dishes from the takeout box and threw them at them wildly. "You people have gone too far. You've killed my daughter. I want you to pay with your lives," I said, holding a glass bottle of drink in one hand, and smashed it hard on the head of Dad, Mars, who was closest to me. As I was about to throw the second bottle, Dad, Mars, screamed and crawled up from the ground and ran away, with the scalding hot pot soup, laced with Carolina Reaper, splashed across his face. Dad, Mars, couldn't open his eyes or see where he was going. He slammed his head into the wall with a thud. In the midst of the intense heat and spice, Dad, Mars, screamed once more and passed out. I grabbed another glass bottle and charged toward Darling. Due to the angle, less soup splashed onto his face, mostly hitting his neck. But the soup, laced with Carolina Reaper, was so spicy that even a single drop in the eyes would make one wish for death. His eyes were red and swollen, filled with terror as he looked at me. "Honey, don't be impulsive. Look closely, I'm your beloved darling. Don't hurt me." I gave a sinister smile. "You knew your mother loves playing cards. Yet you didn't remind her to watch over her daughter. The daughter got into a car accident, it's all your fault. You killed my daughter, you're a murderer. I'll kill you to avenge my daughter." Darling saw I was going to kill him and didn't bother begging me anymore. He quickly got up from the ground and ran away. I, with my hair disheveled like a madwoman, chased after him frantically. "Murderer! Don't run. You killed my daughter. Don't run. I'll kill you." This floor was the operating room, which was already sparsely populated. Additionally, I had informed the head nurse beforehand that my mother, Barb, would become violent during her mental episodes and instructed the medical staff not to intervene even if they heard any commotion, to avoid injury. So when I pressed Barb's head into the hot pot soup, her screams didn't attract anyone. While I was chasing Darling, he passed by the staff room, and the staff finally came out of the room. Seeing me holding the broken glass bottle and chasing Darling with a mad look on my face, they all closed the doors in panic. Darling's skin was burned. His eyes were in excruciating pain, and his entire body was in agony. After I chased him for a while, he couldn't run anymore and huddled in the corner, staring at me in terror. "Honey, calm down. I'm your darling. Don't you recognize me? Have you really gone mad?" Before I could speak, I felt a sharp pain on my arm. I looked down and saw the syringe on my arm. Then everything went black, and I fainted. My daughter's surgery was successful, and she didn't die horribly on the operating table like in my previous life. After emergency treatment, Dad, Mars, survived, but his facial burns were severe. The chili concentration was too high, causing the burned skin to become infected and inflamed, with severe tissue necrosis. Even after the swelling subsided, reconstructive surgery was impossible. As for Barb, her condition was even more severe. Not only was her face disfigured, but she also inhaled scalding soup, damaging her vocal cords. She narrowly escaped death and was admitted to the ICU for observation. If she regained consciousness within a week, she would avoid becoming a vegetable. Darling Joe Chris was the least injured, with only half of his face, neck, and abdominal skin damaged, due to the same reason of excessive chili concentration. The right side of his face, which was severely disfigured, cannot undergo surgical reconstruction. For Joe Chris, who has always valued his appearance, being unable to rely on his handsome face to attract attention is more agonizing than death. Because they were eating hot pot outside the operating room, bullying me, and I live-streamed it online. They became the subject of online discussions as an extreme oddball family. regarding the incident where I poured hot pot soup on them and chased them. Netizens not only didn't blame me but also voluntarily came to my defense and supported me online. Netizens said my actions were just the desperate retaliation of a woman driven to the brink by her family, and that my darling family deserved to be burned. Some netizens even took screenshots of the live stream showing my mom, Barb, with a distorted face hitting me, saying that if I hadn't fought back, I would have been the one submerged in the hot pot soup. Netizens overwhelmingly supported me, and for a time, I became the most pitiful, most sympathetic, and most talked about desperate housewife online. When Darling saw that the incident of them eating hot pot outside the operating room was live-streamed online and sparked a huge public outcry, he withdrew the lawsuit he had previously threatened to file against me, despite his earlier demands for me to be imprisoned for life. Since it was a family dispute, the police, seeing Joe Chris's firm stance on withdrawing the case, decided not to intervene further. In the hospital room, Joe Chris looked at me with a deep gaze. "Honey, I was wrong before. I didn't protect you when you were arguing with Mom. I truly regret it. Let's forget the past and start anew. You can trust me, I'll love you deeply from now on and never let you suffer again." I knew Joe Chris wasn't withdrawing the case out of love for me. Faced with a family torn apart by injury and loss, he weighed the pros and cons and decided that this broken home couldn't function without me as a free caregiver. So he withdrew the case from the police. There was another, more significant reason. Joe Chris had seen videos online in recent days where people were strongly supporting me, with over 10,000 likes, and it had given him a bad idea. He wants me to take advantage of this attention to start a live streaming account to sell products and make money for him. I pretended not to know Joe Chris's true intentions and looked at his swollen face, which was still hard to look at, and said tearfully, "Thank you, darling, for not holding this against me. As long as you treat me well, I will always treat you well and live a good life with you." With 5 family members, 4 of whom are hospitalized, I have become the busiest family member at the hospital. I ran up to the 5th floor ward to care for my 5-year-old daughter, then down to the 4th floor ward to tend to my husband, Chris, and father, Mars, making sure they were fed and hydrated, before rushing to the intensive care unit to visit my mother, Barb, who was hooked up to tubes. In the eyes of the medical staff, I was the most pitiful yet most devoted family member. They always showed great concern for me and paid extra attention to my daughter's post-surgery care. As a result, I visited Mom, Barb, even more frequently, hoping that their goodwill toward me as a dutiful daughter-in-law would be directed toward caring for my daughter. However, what they didn't know was that every time I visited Mom, Barb, with tears in my eyes, I felt a surge of joy inside, compared to the agonizing struggle I endured when I died in my previous life. Mom, Barb, lying in the hospital bed, suffering more than death, must have been 1,000 times more painful than my previous life. Over the course of 7 days, Mom, Barb, was given 3 critical condition notices, and I thought she would die. But her will to live was stronger than I could have imagined. On the 7th day, she opened her eyes. However, one of her eyes was severely burned and had died, leaving her blind. The other I could see, but the skin around it was severely burned, leaving only a small opening. Her throat could only emit a weak, raspy sound. Mom, Barb, couldn't accept this state of being worse than death, neither human nor ghost, and she broke down in tears, screaming and refusing to let me or the nurses come near her. Dad, Mars, and Darling, who had also been burned, were discharged from the hospital after 6 days and returned home to recover. Facing Mom, Barb, who was emotionally unstable and refused to let anyone near her, they had no choice but to care for her themselves. As the saying goes, there are no filial children by the bedside of a long-ill parent, and even spouses may abandon each other in times of great distress. In a previous life, this father and son were both men who kept mistresses on the side. How could they have the patience to care for an old woman who was as ugly as a demon and acting like a madwoman? After just 5 days of caring for Mom, Barb, Darling sat before me, exhausted. "Honey, I can't go on anymore. Mom acts like a madwoman, deliberately making life difficult for everyone. With 5 people in the family, 4 of us are in the hospital. Our savings are gone. And relatives won't lend us money. The nurse just demanded more medical fees. If this continues, I'll be driven to despair. The hot pot incident had barely begun to circulate online when my husband received a text message informing him he had been fired from his position as deputy manager. From the time of his daughter's car accident to now. In just 12 days. Joe Chris looked like he had aged 12 years. The once confident and ambitious elite was gone. Replaced by a thin, haggard middle-aged man, a disfigured, ugly middle-aged man. I sneered inwardly. It really is true that the knife cuts deepest where it hurts the most. In my previous life, I sacrificed everything for this family, only to be met with their betrayal, killing my wife and daughter to claim insurance money. In this life, I've returned the evil they intended for us. And now they know the pain. Darling, you're right. Every time we open our eyes, we have to spend money. Yet there's no one earning a living. Why don't you take care of our daughter while I go back to work? The moment my daughter heard I was going back to work, she immediately grabbed my hand in panic. Don't go to work. Mom. Don't go to work. I want you to stay with me. Seeing her resistance, my heart ached. In my previous life, Joe Chris had no patience with our daughter. Sometimes when she wanted to play with her father and took his phone, he responded with a cold slap. Scared out of her wits, she dared not approach him again. Now that half his face is disfigured, he looks even more monstrous. And my daughter naturally dares not let him take care of her. In my previous life, I was blind and foolish to pour my heart out to such a man with no sense of family responsibility. I was utterly foolish. Deceived by his family into being killed for insurance money. And my death was well deserved. My daughter is in the critical stage of recovering her health. I'm taking care of my mother and my daughter. I can't possibly take as good care of you. You should stay and take care of your daughter. But if none of us go to work, where will we get the money to pay for my mother's and my daughter's medical expenses? Live streaming e-commerce. Honey, let's do live streaming e-commerce. But if we do live streaming sales now, people will call me a love-struck fool. Say I'm begging for attention. And that I'm being bullied by your mother yet still doing this to make money for you. No one will buy our products. I voiced my concerns. Joe Chris hesitated for a moment. Then looked at me cautiously. Honey, why don't we get a fake divorce? No way. I'll never divorce you. Not even a fake one. I refused immediately. My expression as firm as if I were joining the party. A smug look flashed across Joe Chris's eyes, and he began to persuade me earnestly. After an hour of persuasion, I looked at Joe Chris with red eyes, tears welling up, and a face full of reluctance. Darling, I really don't want to fake a divorce with you. What if we divorce and you don't want me anymore? I truly love you so much. I can't live without you. Seeing that I really didn't want to divorce, a determined gleam flashed in Joe Chris's eyes. Honey, we're just getting a fake divorce. I'll never leave you. Here's the deal, when we divorce, we'll do a property notarization and transfer the house, car, and daughter to your name. Now you can rest assured. Right? This was exactly what I had been acting for all these days. I hesitated for a moment before pretending to agree reluctantly. Joe Chris and I quickly went to get the divorce certificate. I posted a video of my divorce online, which was immediately reposted by numerous influencers. Soon, my account gained many followers, with people leaving comments congratulating me on starting a new life. On the other side, my ex-husband also opened an account online. He tearfully confessed online, saying that as a husband, he had failed to balance the relationship between his wife and mother, leading to such a tragedy in the family and leaving him alone and miserable. He claimed it was his own fault, and he even performed acts of self-abuse to evoke sympathy. Despite his disfigurement, he had a pair of very alluring eyes. Wearing a mask and weeping, he shared his reflections on marriage online, urging men who mistreat their wives to cherish their families. Surprisingly, He gained a significant following of middle-aged female fans. And his video's ability to attract followers was no less than mine. A few days later, we launched our first live stream. Ironically, I earned less than my ex-husband in a single live stream. This is how society works, everyone screams for to die. Yet they are unusually forgiving toward men who have made mistakes. As long as a man cries and repents, people will forget his past wrongdoings and put a filter of beauty back on him. Joe Chris saw that one live stream earned him as much as a month's salary. And he was overjoyed, saying, "No wonder everyone wants to be an influencer. Live streaming is so profitable." Having tasted the sweetness of success, Joe Chris followed suit and set up a live streaming account for his father, Dad Mars, who had disfigured himself, wore a mask and imitated his son's repentance, and surprisingly gained some elderly fans who felt sorry for him. He sold cheap kitchen items like garbage bags priced at 9 yuan with free shipping. And they sold exceptionally well. The father and son tasted the sweetness of live streaming, like discovering a new continent, and streamed non-stop for half a month, sleeping only to eat, broadcasting for over 10 hours a day, earning a fortune. They had long since forgotten about Mom, Barb, who was still in the hospital, causing a commotion demanding to see them. "Darling, we've earned enough money now to cover Mom and our daughter's rehabilitation costs. Let's get remarried." When I mentioned remarriage, Joe Chris avoided my gaze, clearly unwilling to remarry me. "Honey, this money won't last more than a few years. Let's maintain our current relationship for now. Once I earn more money, we'll remarry." Joe Chris spoke gently to me. I pretended to be unhappy and said, "They say men change for the worse once they have money. If you give me half of it, I'll believe you won't betray me." Joe Chris had originally wanted to cash in on my live streaming sales, but he ended up making more money than me. So he no longer pampered me like before. But that's exactly what I wanted, for him to feel superior. The more he flaunted his success, the more I wanted him. "Honey, I've given you the car, the house, and our daughter. What more do you want from me? Do you want me to rip out my heart and show it to you before you're satisfied?" Joe Chris shouted angrily at me. "Darling, don't be angry. I just feel insecure. I won't mention remarriage again. Please don't be angry." I spoke softly and obediently, just like before. Seeing me become docile and obedient, Joe Chris's eyes flashed with a smug look of contempt. "Go to the hospital to take care of your daughter and mother. I need to continue the live stream." "All right. Darling. Take care of yourself. I'm heading to the hospital." Upon arriving at the hospital, I turned on the home security camera and saw two women sitting on the sofa. My dad, Mars, and my ex-husband were each hugging one of them. The table in front of the sofa was piled with barbecue, lobster, appetizers, beer, and drinks. Such a beautiful scene. Of course I wanted to enjoy it with Mom, Barb. I hurriedly pushed open the door to Mom, Barb's hospital room. Standing by the bedside, I looked at the sleeping Mom, Barb, and slapped her hard across the face. Mom, Barb, opened her eyes, saw me standing by the bed, and screamed at me with a ferocious expression. "Aurora, you heartless monster. You're abusing me. I'll make Chris divorce you. You evil woman." I slapped Mom, Barb, again. Hard. But her skin was already dead. So no matter how hard I hit her, there was no redness or swelling on her face. "You old hag. Look at this." I held the phone up to Mom, Barb's eye, which was only slightly open, so she could see the screen. "Isn't that my best friend Ma Emo and her daughter Heather? What are they doing at my house in the middle of the night? How did they end up at your place? Just look closely and you'll see. Soon." Mo's flattering voice came through the phone. "Shuejuan. Chris has already divorced Aurora. When are you going to divorce that crazy woman Wang Guiying and marry me? Look at you. Streaming live for so long every day with no one to take care of you. I really feel sorry for you. My situation is different from Chris's. That old hag is already so old. If I divorce her now, The brainless old men and women who support me will think I'm heartless. No one will buy my goods. And how can I give you a happy retirement? Marshall said, kissing Ma Mo on the cheek. Uncle Joe. Letting my mom follow you without any status isn't a solution either. If you can't give her a proper status, don't hold her back. My mom is only 50, there are plenty of eligible old men who would pursue her. You're disfigured now, the only reason she's still with you is because she loves you so much. Hearing Heather's words, Barb's face, already uglier than a ghost's, twisted into an even more hideous expression. You're a disgrace. Ma Mo. I felt sorry for you. A young widow with an orphan child. So I often lent you money to help you out. Yet you and your daughter team up to be mistresses to my darling and my son. You two are truly shameless. Seeing Barb's face contorted with anger, I didn't say a word, but felt an overwhelming sense of satisfaction. In the hot pot incident, the Wrights' father and son were injured, but they were the ultimate beneficiaries. The one who suffered the most was Barb, who was now bedridden and betrayed by the person she trusted most. Killing someone's heart is no different from killing them. On the phone, Dad, Mars, looked conflicted for a moment before a murderous expression flashed across his face. Chris, your mom was burned so badly that her brain nerves were damaged. She can't even stand up now. She'll be a burden on us for the rest of her life. Why don't we bring her back? Hire a mental patient as a caregiver. And use her mental illness as an excuse to give her the wrong medication and send her away? We can then claim the accidental death insurance money from the insurance company. What do you think? I had expected Joe Chris to oppose or hesitate. But his level of ingratitude exceeded my imagination. Dad is right. After Mom was scalded, her mental illness worsened. Once she's discharged, she'll cause chaos at home. Rather than let her ruin our business, it's better to send her away sooner and earn some insurance money. Hearing her husband and son's scheme, Barb was so angry she struggled to sit up. Monster. Monster. I'm going to kill these heartless monsters. Whether it was from anger or something else. Barb, who hadn't been able to move her head since regaining consciousness, forced herself to sit up halfway before collapsing back onto the bed. Whether driven mad by anger, a pang of conscience, or thinking I was too kind and gullible, Barb began to sob and confess to me. Aurora. I'm sorry. It was all my fault. You're such a good daughter-in-law. And I shouldn't have taken you for granted or treated you so badly. Rest assured. Once I'm out of the hospital, I'll teach that disobedient son a lesson and make him apologize to you. The two of you should live happily together. I promise I'll never cause trouble again or make you angry. Slap, I slapped Barb hard across the face. That old hag. When you tried to push me into the hot pot and boil me alive to collect my accidental death insurance. Did you ever think you'd end up like this? Barb stared at me in shock, unable to believe what she was hearing. You eavesdropped on our conversation. So you deliberately provoked me while we were eating hot pot? I smiled maliciously. Like a demon from hell. I didn't eavesdrop on your conversation. I was already killed by the scalding hot and spicy hot pot soup you used on me. Barb shuddered in fear. Don't try to scare me with your ghost stories. How could I scare you? When the scalding hot chilly water went up my nose, my whole body felt like it was about to explode. I described the sensation of being scalded by the hot pot soup. And Barb murmured. The feeling you described is similar to mine. Did you really get scalded by hot pot soup? Not only was I scalded, but you boiled me alive in the hot pot soup. Compared to your cruelty, I'm still too kind. I recounted the events of my previous life where they had plotted to kill me. Then looked at Barb, with a cold smile. Do you think they treated you well after you helped them murder me and my daughter? No. You suffered far worse in your previous life. After they received the compensation for our accidental deaths, they sent you to a mental hospital under the pretext that you had killed someone and were a potential threat to society. You were tortured to death by a group of elderly mentally ill men. This life is even worse for you. Not only did you taste the bitter sweetness of having your face boiled in hot pot soup as my revenge, but when you go back, they'll find mentally ill people to abuse you, squeeze every last drop of value out of you, and use the life insurance money you traded your life for to support your best friend and her children. Haha. My dear Mom, Barb. Your life is truly blessed. Mom, Barb, was terrified by my words and hurriedly grabbed my hand, crying and begging. Aurora. You're the best daughter-in-law. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please save me. I coldly smiled, prying open Mom, Barb's fingers one by one, watching the faint glimmer of light in her eyes shatter bit by bit. Dear Mom, Barb. Just wait and embrace your happy future. As soon as my daughter was discharged from the hospital, I listed the house for sale through an agent at a price $50,000 below market value. The neighborhood was a school district, and houses were in high demand. Within an hour of listing, a buyer came to view the property. I paid the agent $2,000 as a commission and entrusted him with handling the sale. I didn't want to meet my ex-husband's family. Real estate agents are seasoned professionals. And the next day, I completed the property transfer with the buyer. With the money from selling the house and car, I took my daughter back to my hometown. I came from a small rural village in an obscure county in northern China and married Joe Chris, who lived in a first-tier city. When I first brought Joe Chris home, my parents didn't look down on him just because he was from the city. As rural people with only one daughter, my parents poured all their love into me. They said Joe Chris didn't seem reliable, wasn't the type to manage a household, or take family responsibilities seriously. But at the time, I was blinded by love and couldn't hear my parents' words. I even thought that as a rural girl, marrying a city man proved I was capable. To convince me that Joe Chris wasn't a good man, my parents, who had never left the province, went to the area near Joe Chris's home to observe his parents. My dad said Joe Chris's father liked to dance at the square and was flirting with a group of women, while Joe Chris's mother liked to play mahjong. He claimed that people with such character couldn't raise a son with a sense of family responsibility and wasn't someone worth relying on. In my late stages of being love-struck, I told my parents they were biased. Dad, Mars, works all day, what's wrong with him going to dance for a bit? Mom, Barb, is good at mahjong and earns thousands a month from it, that's a profession too. I called my parents unworldly rural folks and made them so disappointed they went home. When I got married, Mom, Barb, said she didn't want her relatives to mock her son for marrying a rural girl. So she didn't allow my parents to attend the wedding. I agreed. I've been married to Joe Chris for 7 years. And my parents have never set foot in the Wrights' house. Back then, I didn't listen to my parents and insisted on marrying a scoundrel. Now that I'm divorced, I've returned to my parents' home with my daughter. I don't know if my parents will accept me. With a nervous heart, I knocked on the gate of my parents' house. My father opened the door. I couldn't say a word, just knelt before him in tears. Soon, my mother also came out of the room. Dad. Mom. Your disobedient daughter is back. My parents didn't ask why I came back, they just looked at me with tears in their eyes. As long as you're back, that's all that matters. Our daughter is safe and sound. I didn't go out to look for a job again. My parents liked farming, so I took on several acres of land to grow crops. I filmed our daily life at home and, once the crops were ready, sold them live on my account. I spent my days working hard in the fields, and life was fulfilling and happy. My ex-husband and dad, Mars, were also thriving in their live streaming business. Mo and Heather appeared in their live streams as their assistants, their expressions betraying the deep affection they shared. Occasionally, I would watch their live streams and listen to my ex-husband and ex-dad, Mars, speak with growing arrogance. I knew their karma was coming soon. Busy days fly by quickly, and before I knew it, 3 months had passed. Just as my dad and I were reaping a bountiful harvest from our crops, I came across a sensational news story that went viral. Coincidentally, it was about my evil ex-mom, Barb, and her family. My ex-mom, Barb, who couldn't take care of herself, didn't disappoint me. After being released from the hospital, she endured humiliation and hardship. After collecting videos of her ex-husband, Mars, cheating on her and videos of her son abusing her, she poured several buckets of oil inside the house. She set fire to her ex-husband, Mars, her own son, and their respective lovers, burning them alive in the villa. Mom, Barb, then crawled out into the yard, recorded a video, and posted it on her ex-husband's account, addressing me directly. Aurora, the person who betrayed you, bullied you, and stole your marriage, I've killed them for you. You are the best daughter-in-law in my heart. In my heart. You will always be my daughter-in-law. If there is a next life, I will definitely be a good mom, Barb, and never let you suffer even a single injustice. Aurora, I miss you so much. Before I take my own life to atone for my sins, will you come see me one last time? Looking at my former mom, Barb, who was crying uncontrollably behind the mask, confessing her sins to me, I smiled faintly. Mom, Barb, had endured the abuse from both her former dad, Mars, and her ex-husband. Yet she managed to survive for over 3 months. Her will to live was stronger than anyone else's. She wouldn't really commit suicide. A dog can't change its spots. She wasn't truly repentant or apologetic. She was just using public opinion to morally blackmail me, or trying to lure me with the promise of the massive traffic she could generate for me, so I'd bring her back to take care of her in her old age. Having been given a second chance at life, I wouldn't even blink if she held a knife to my throat. Use the traffic she generates to support her in her old age? I'd rather never touch the internet again than bring her into my life and disgust myself. Netizens are pretty clear-headed these days. Before I even responded to Mom, Barb's public plea, they were already leaving comments in my section urging me not to go. Sis, please don't go see her. Once you do, she'll cling to you like a leech. Impossible to shake off. I'm the kind of person who listens to advice. I filmed a video of myself eating watermelon in a watermelon field, with the caption, "The past is gone with the wind. Like smoke in the clouds. Everything is unrelated to me." The watermelons I grew were big and round, under the massive traffic from the evil Mom, Barb, family. I not only sold out the dozens of acres of watermelon fields I had planted, but also sold all the watermelons in the village. Watching my parents pick watermelons, pack them into boxes, and work busily with such joy, I couldn't help but smile, the happiest smile I've had in 7 years of marriage. In the end, my ex-mom, Barb, was arrested for arson and murder. During the investigation, she suffered a mental breakdown. She was sent to a mental hospital, where she constantly muttered my name, saying that I was now a good person and begging to be reborn. This year's little New Year's Eve was unusually cold, with snow falling gently all day, quickly transforming the village into a beautiful fairy tale landscape. As the family gathered around the table to eat steaming dumplings, an unfamiliar number called. On a whim, I answered. Ms. Sue. Hello. I am the legal representative of Barbara. Barbara passed away at 1947. Barbara left a will stating that all her assets should be inherited by Ms. Sue. Would Ms. Sue be available tomorrow to handle the matter? I curved my lips into a faint smile. Of course I do. After settling Mom, Barb's estate, I was surprised to discover that the inheritance deposit was exactly $230 million. It was the same amount as the death compensation and massive insurance payout they had extorted from the hospital in their previous life. It seemed as though heaven had arranged everything in its divine plan, ensuring that good and evil would eventually be rewarded or punished.